I'd like to continue our public hearing to prohibit dumping of debris on commercial properties. Would anybody like to speak on that?
Can't hear you, John.
Would anybody like to speak on it?
The public hearing for...
Public hearing for dumping debris on commercial properties. Would you like? Wait long enough? Somebody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. I'd like to also have a public hearing reopen for Saratoga Prime properties. Would anybody like to speak about it?
Good evening, Stephanie Ferradino on behalf of B&D Properties, which owns an adjacent parcel. We are very pleased that the applicant was kind enough to provide a concept plan and the long-form EAF. I think it goes a long way towards helping us evaluate what studies might be necessary. The concept plan, as you're aware, shows a maximum build-out, so they have to look at the largest size. And the plan shows a 1 million square foot building with 100 acres of hard surface, both pavement as well as rooftops. We're assuming that the town board will make a determination of lead agency tonight and commence coordinated review, and just wanted to add our thoughts about what studies we think would be helpful in evaluating a project of this magnitude. Some items appear to be missing on the long form, the seeker part, and I think if you look at page 2, even B, there are a bunch of agencies that are missing, and I think you want to look at that in conjunction with the county planning board letter, which kind of gave a gentle reminder about segmented review. All agencies need to be included here, and I think the county planning's indication was that that you ought to also be considering the site plan review at this time. So the planning board should be included as part of not just the referral, but the site plan. You've got to have the Army Corps of Engineers because there are federal wetlands on site, which the EAF mapper shows you at the end, but you can't see on the concept plan. DOT, SHPO, etc. So we think that needs to be fixed in order that you can commence your coordinated review. Additional studies that we would recommend you consider include traffic. The EAF indicated pretty significant traffic of 550 cars as well as 600 trucks. And we believe that rises to the level, or exceeds the level typically required for a traffic study. We're pretty sure the level of service will change on Ballard Road with that volume of traffic. We're also very curious about the impact to residential traffic for Edie Road, specifically if you're coming off Edie and trying to turn onto Ballard. Unless you're going the long way to Saratoga, I'm guessing most people turn left, and I think that's going to be difficult to do with the volume of traffic, and it's going to be harder to control with the signalized intersection being a stone's throw away. You can't add a light right where there already is a light. So we're interested in seeing what the traffic engineers have to say about that. Groundwater impacts need to be evaluated. My client has a 19-lot subdivision on 44 acres. Last year, he provided a groundwater study. This year, the town's saying, hey, groundwater's changed pretty significantly in that 1 year period of time. And so your 19 houses on 44 lots need to reevaluate it. Not only does it need to be reevaluated, but instead of just the town attorney looking at it and our engineer, I'm sorry, the town engineer and our engineer, now the town's requiring us to put up money so that a third-party independent engineer can evaluate the groundwater. We're literally right across the street. So I'm guessing that scrutiny is happening for a very small subdivision in relation to a project of this magnitude. Groundwater is an issue in that area. Stormwater needs to be evaluated. We haven't seen the SWIP. From the concept plan, it looks like the water's being directed towards Edie Road. It also looks like the stormwater management area proposed, and this is just proposed, we get this as a concept plan, but part of it's in the no-cut buffer, which seems like, I'm not sure that you can do a stormwater management retention area without cutting the trees. And while the no-cut area seems like a super generous offer, and I think it's great to have a buffer there, it's also part of the required green space, so I'm not sure that it's a super concession because there is a green space requirement in your town in the C zone. We think that this also is going to require a comprehensive plan amendment. My quick analysis of the specific sections with regard to Edie Road and Ballard Road seems to warrant that, so that's something you would want the applicant to look at. Noise, lighting, air, visual impact on Edie Road. The comp plan talks about maintaining the rural character on Edie Road, and I think a visual impact study so we can kind of see what's 200 feet really look like, and if it's treed and then there's a building, what are you actually going to see? It probably is not much, but I'm not sure that I know that. I'm not sure that you as lay people can evaluate that without having a rendering which shows that. And we're also kind of curious why the first part of Edie Road, right off of Ballard, doesn't have that same no-cut buffer. Wetland delineation also makes some sense. My client purchased this property literally just a year ago. Part of his contract required due diligence. He looked at the comp plan, he looked at the zoning before making an investment. At this point, he has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in the property, hundreds of thousands in studies. He's been before the planning board for almost a full year, and there is no doubt in our mind that something from this project is going to negatively impact what he had planned to do with this project. We're kind of not sure what else to do other than ask the town to continue to evaluate it so we can kind of figure out how we regroup, because I don't think we can have this exact same subdivision if the town takes the action that it looks like it's planning to take. We're kind of pulling back and holding on expending any more money because it's really hard to determine what's going to happen to our price point on the houses we were anticipating to sell. So we appreciate you continuing to ask the applicant to continue to look at the studies. We certainly know that there's going to be a huge benefit to the town if something like this comes in, but there's also going to be some detriments, and we're hoping that you take those into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll speak to John.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, John Hopper on behalf of Frank Rillo and Dick Carr from DLA Group is here as well. Dave did the concept plan. So we're not proposing that building. What you asked us to do and what we talked to the town attorney and Ryan about was the reasonable worst case scenario so that we could look at that. Frank's not building anything. That would be the biggest building you could put on the site. And even with that, as Stephanie said, there's a generous buffer of 200 feet, which Ray had asked for along the back. So what we're showing is no trucks, no cars, nothing on Edie Road. Everything would be on Ballard Road. And with the reasonable worst case building, it's similar basically to Target, where there's houses nearby, subdivision for sure to go in the back with a 200-foot wooded buffer behind it and no truck traffic. But this isn't part of a site plan project. Frank's not planning anything. He's just making it all one zone so that he can sell it to somebody. Hopefully somebody comes in and buys it. So it is a benefit to the town, jobs, taxes, et cetera. Again, we're not proposing to build that. So that's just there so you can look at the most that could possibly put on that site.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening, thank you. Tracy Moran, 196 Ballard Road. I just want to express a concern if a project like this does go over on Ballard Road. I am the closest residential over there to a project that would go in there, and my main concern is the entrance point for this building, or whatever we'd be putting there. I certainly don't want traffic in and out facing my house day in and day out. I'm not sure by the picture. It seems to be a little bit closer to the Northway end, but again, I'm right there. I have like 11 acres across the road from this. So that's just my main concern, and I would like it to be evaluated. But, you know, I got pets and grandkids, and I mean, I understand if it's before my house, then there's less traffic going by my house, that's fine, but to have them come directly across from my house is going to be something that should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The planning board will take care of that. It's right here.
Anybody else like to speak?
Proposed right here.
Somebody want to make a motion, close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Welcome all to August 4th Wilton Town Board meeting. I want to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take a roll call, Julie.
Supervisor Lant.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor McEachran.
Here.
Councilman Bogardus.
Here.
Councilwoman Culligan.
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Thank you. Has anybody signed up to speak, Julie?
Yes.
Public comment?
Jeff, did you want to talk again, or? Alec Rosati?
Hello everyone, my name is Alex Rosati. Sorry, oh, no worries. Safety first. Live at 12 Sweetbriar Drive. I was here a couple months ago about the Airbnb that's at 14 Sweetbriar. I know that and appreciate that a cease and desist was sent. They continue to every weekend have 10 plus people having bachelor parties, everything like that. It continues to be a nuisance. My wife's here today and she can attest as well. We're in bed and we hear bass thumping, parties going on late, cars moving around, transient. It's everybody's biggest party of the year is happening right next door to us. I just want to reiterate it's the R1 and hopefully we can take the next step forward now that they haven't been honoring the cease and desist to move forward with fines or taking whatever kind of procedural steps that we need to take and move forward to be the, to stop this from happening. It's quite a nuisance for us and it's a safety concern for the whole neighborhood. We have people here from the neighborhood just to represent as well. So I appreciate your consideration for progress with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Jack Fogarty?
Good evening. My name's Jack Fogarty, 29 Cottleville Drive. I've been a resident of town since 1975, all the way back to the Bob Gavin days, so I'm used to dealing with issues. But we have that issue that Alex just indicated. That's a live issue you folks should be dealing with. It took a while for this board to engage on that issue. They were submitted, as Alex said, a cease and desist letter dated May the 28th. Okay? Today is August the 4th. My single question to the town is, what happens next? It took 40 letters from concerned property owners to get to town to engage with the cease and desist letter. What happens next? Alex said there's cars. I counted 12 one time. Alex said, no, Jack, there was one in the garage too. There were 13. On any weekend, you can go down, some members of this board can drive by it and see what's happening. But nothing seems to be happening. And apparently the owners have approached residents in the immediate area to try to talk them into what a great idea it is, what they're doing. I don't think any of those residents agree with that position. Okay? I've heard that they say this is their second home. This same crew, my understanding is, they have a property out on Saratoga Lake. So this must be property 2A or 2B, because this is the third situation. So again, I don't know who in the town is responsible. It's probably the building inspector or the code enforcement guy. What happens next, town of Wilton? Because it's happening there are people down there now. Okay? So this is a live issue. 12 cars. What happens when they market this place as a ski chalet? Because it's at the foothills of the Adirondack. How's the town gonna plow it? 12 cars.
I can't park on the road. They get towed.
We don't even tell.
Yeah.
So,
If they're on the street, they'll be towed.
okay, but you guys are gonna have to call back and get cars towed, and we're gonna have to drive around them. Again, I didn't buy a property in town. They have an active hotel 5 houses away. I don't think anybody did. But we got it. We got a live issue. So it's time for the town, whatever the next action is, take it. Because it's not going to get any better.
You know, we've been trying to study this for quite a while with state laws and all this and that, but you can bet your life, tomorrow morning I will be on this with the building inspector and we'll get something done.
Okay, because I trust it's not up to the citizens.
It's up to the building department.
We already did
It
that.
will be addressed first thing in the morning.
And then it goes in front of the judges and,
Right.
you know, then it's out of, you know, we've done this in the past with dirty yards, with waste that's been piled 10 feet high. They go in front of a judge, they get a summons, whether they, you know, it's out of our hands. We've done everything we possibly could do as a board.
You know, it seems as though the people who do the wrong thing have more rights than us people who do the right things. You know, it's aggravating for us too, believe me, but it will be addressed first thing in the morning when I get here, when Mark gets there.
Thank you about that. And I just want to make one other comment. This is not about 14th Street, Brian. The roundabout on Jones Road, it's too small. The angles are too acute. People are going to wind up down, there's like an embankment. Some type of restraint has to be put in there. During the winter, it's going to be full of cars. Nobody abides by the speed limit anywhere. And now, there's no light. There's no lights. You drive through, they put up 2 temporary lights. I don't know if they run them every night, but it took a while for that to happen.
Right.
I've seen people totally disregard it and drive straight through the middle.
Oh my goodness.
It's too small. Something's got to be done to constrain the traffic, or they're all going to wind up all over the place all winter.
I addressed that with the town engineer today, and I'm not happy with it either.
I'm not a big fan of it.
It was there before any of our say. We had no say. It was,
The town didn't have a say in how that happened.
these people here didn't. It was done
Somebody signed off on it.
before us.
Okay.
We are trying to deal with it.
It's going to snow soon.
Yep.
Even though it's 100 degrees today.
I hope it does, really.
Tracy, did you want to talk? Okay. Paul Kelly?
Hello again, Paul Kelly, 27 Cobble Hill Drive. I just wanted to give you an update again on 14 Sweetbriar. Since last month, I went to the Sheriff's Department several hours out of my day and met with them, gave them the proper town ordinances. We'll still go to the state police and I'll check that box off too, but again, it's my opinion that it's not just solely a law enforcement issue. It's other property values declining, things like that. And I'll come back and I'll put together another package with some additional law and some additional case law. One thing to consider though, what I want to just keep you posted on so you get surprised on this. In the New York Town Law 268, it says each week's continued violation shall constitute a separate violation. And then our town, which can be more restrictive, says each day's continued violation shall constitute a separate violation. So if we measure from May 31, you take 2 weeks out, second violation, and then the third violation, every day after that, the third one says $1,000 for every day. So these people are gonna be into it for $35,000, $40,000 right now. And those are some of the things that we're looking at. I don't want anybody to be shocked, but that's the kind of information we're putting together for the violation and the procedure, documenting everything. So we'll see you next month.
And we've had these fines go out to other people in the town, and they don't pay them until they need to do something. And then all of a sudden they get paid. So that number that you're talking about, you can't force them to pay it, but when they need to do something on their property before any permits issued, them back fines will be paid.
Or a lien on the property and...
Well, I was going to say, there are methods, like liens, attaching bank accounts, all those kinds of things.
We have that problem with them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for your hard work. I know you're working tirelessly on this.
Sure. Oh, I would like to help the town.
Don't you have other people?
Anytime, be free for any other comments.
Everybody get a chance to read last month's minutes? Somebody want to make a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll
And a
second.
second?
She second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, approved. I'm glad to see all the scouts here, and I know you're all gonna make this country a better place in your time. We have a application for Logan Ward Bruno and Deputy Supervisor McCackman. I'd like to have the honors to present it to him. You want to come up there, Logan?
Proclamation commending Logan Ward Bruno on pertaining Eagle Scout rank. Whereas Logan Ward Bruno is a member of the Boy Scout Troop 4024 of Wilton and recently achieved the rare distinction of rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas the Eagle Scout Award honors the Scout, his family, his troop, and his troop leaders. And whereas a Boy Scout is required to complete an Eagle Leadership Service Project as part of qualifying for the rank of Eagle Scout. Whereas Logan Ward Bruno planned and led a project to establish the Arnold Bruno Memorial Save a Life program. And whereas Logan Ward Bruno set his goal and completed his plan to provide advanced first aid, CPR, and AED certifications to untrained members of the community. And whereas Logan Ward Bruno worked closely with the community members, business leaders, and the Wilton Emergency Squad to accomplish his goal at no cost to the participating members of the community being trained. And whereas Logan Ward Bruno raised money for the project through fundraising with local business owners and other charitable organizations in our community to be sure the program will be sustained for years to come. Whereas it's fitting to recognize the unusual dedication and diligence exhibited by Logan Ward Bruno in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Wilton Town Board commends Logan Ward Bruno for his attainment of the rank of Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America, and it be further proclaimed that the town clerk forward a duly scrolled copy of this proclamation of commendation to Logan Ward Bruno. In witness whereof we have hereunto set our hands and affix the seal of the town of Wilton, the 4th of August, 2022. Congratulations.
Board members, Richard and the family. Logan, I knew you very well. I worked with him a lot. He was involved in his grandmother saving many lives in this town of Wilton. So you're following the footsteps. Proud of you.
Congratulations, Logan. Good job.
Now the family.
Family here. You need a picture taken of that?
Oh, boy. You already take
Is everybody smiling?
You were right.
Congratulations.
You know, I also like to thank the scout leaders here for molding our young folks for the future. Thank you. Dumping on commercial properties, we have a resolution drawn up. We want to make a motion to...
That writing was all adjusted according from last meeting.
It's not clear to me. I'm still, the copy that's been distributed still shows, although it's underlined, some of the language I have concerns about. I don't know if it's proposed to be, what's proposed to be kept in or what's proposed to be deleted. I'm proposing deletion of just one phrase, which is the phrase, storing or placing of any kind of solid or liquid waste materials. That phrase from section 57-3A. And it's underlined, so I don't know if that means it's staying or going, but I'm proposing it to be deleted. It's the very first paragraph on the very first page.
Just make the motion, we delete it.
You want to make that motion?
You're talking about everything after the word limbs?
Not the whole way, I'm talking
Okay.
about from
Storing.
limbs to within. Just the phrase, storing or placing of any kind of solid or liquid waste materials. My understanding is that the intent is, in fact, to prohibit the depositing of stumps, scrubbings, logs,
Yes.
and limbs, correct?
Right.
Right, so if that's correct, I'm not troubled by within the town of Wilton, I'm not troubled by which originate, take off the S and originate to make it originate, either within or outside of the town of Wilton is prohibited. The only part I'm troubled by is the phrase, storing or placing of any kind of liquid, storing or placing of any kind of solid or liquid waste materials, because again, to use my silly example, I violated that on my way here when I took my chocolate milk container and I threw it in the waste container at Stewart's.
Might go get that out.
I make the motion,
Just as I did at last month's meeting, and just as I will at next month's meeting.
I just make the motion, we remove that from the,
Just as our council said.
and move forward with the rest. If everything else looked good under your trained eyes.
The addition of the remaining language is appropriate from my standpoint, if I understand the intent, which I think I do. So if you want to make that in one motion, you can just move to approve the revisions as described, and that would be without that phrase.
I'll make a motion to approve this with the amendment as stated by council, removing the word storing or placing of any kind of solid liquid waste materials in 57.3 subparagraph A.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Saratoga Prime Properties, Sequa. Somebody want to make a motion, move on with this? The town being lead agency probably be a good idea.
Are we talking about the town board or the town planning board?
Town board, town board.
Town lead agency?
Board for this.
And other than establishing lead agency, we're not taking any other action at this time?
Well, there was no other,
What happened last month, agency-wise?
I thought
they were gonna do it for the town.
Established it last month.
I just don't remember.
Planning
They weren't
board.
here
Yes.
last
Who was gonna be lead agency
I thought it
last
was the
month?
planning
planning
board.
board.
Right.
Well, it was our recommendation at the planning board. Oh, that's from.
That was the mall.
for the mall.
That's from all. These guys
That
weren't
was
here
the
last
mall.
month.
Yeah.
They weren't here last
Right, they
month.
weren't here
Yeah,
last
different
month.
application.
So the mall was,
Yeah.
you recommend the planning board to be the lead agency for this particular action. You mentioned last month that you were seeking lead agency, and I believe that stuff was sent out, but there was no other involved agents for this particular action.
I think that's what
So you could perform secret review if you feel so.
Right, and in that regard, the applicant has essentially done, this doesn't mean you have to approve, I don't think approve or deny, not my place, but the applicant has provided the information that was requested. If you remember, there was a little dialogue, some might call it a small debate, about whether the applicant could or couldn't produce the type of information we were seeking. If you recall the prediction was that it happened pretty frequently on a regular basis, and that prediction seems to have come to pass, because in fact, what we described as being sought, which was I think we said something like a reasonable, most intense development scenario, and that seems to be exactly what the information that the applicant has now provided. It's a hypothetical, and it's not literally a worst-case most intensive development, but I don't think that would be a reasonable request. It's a reasonable most intensive development, and that seems to have been exactly what's described in the hypothetical development analyzed in the part 1 of the environmental assessment form. So from my perspective as town council, legal counsel, the applicant has provided you with exactly the type and level of information that you sought.
Okay, so perhaps council or town engineer, or a combination thereof. So if according to seeker, we establish ourselves as lead agency, what's the next step?
To be to conduct secret review, and that means since the applicant has provided the information as requested in part 1 of the environmental assessment form, and we met with your approval as a complete, you would then go to and answer the questions in part 2. Recognizing that it's a little bit of an unusual exercise because it is very abstract and hypothetical.
Yes.
So you should be conducting your secret review and answering the questions in part 2 based on the hypothetical, reasonable, described as reasonable, for better phrase, reasonable worst-case development, as described in part 1 of the environmental assessment form. So you're sort of pretending that this is what's actually being proposed for development, and answer the part 2 questions accordingly, to the best of your ability.
And to add to that, if a real project does come forth, seeker would be reviewed and the actual site plan review process through the planning board would partake. This does not approve, development of the property.
Right, but just to put a finer spin on that, if the rezoning is adopted, if the zone change is adopted, and an actual project is proposed, it is absolutely subject to site plan review by the planning board, as Ryan just said. It's conceivable that it would actually not require further secret review if it happened to be substantially identical to this hypothetical project.
Yep.
I haven't the faintest idea how likely that is, but if that were the case, it actually would not require further secret review. But if it's fundamentally different than this hypothetical worst-case scenario, then it would require further secret review.
In the public hearing, Ms. Ferradino raised a number of issues about other agency involvement. Can anybody comment on addressing her or her client's concerns?
Do you want to go through all the approvals you saw with DEC? Sure. And, the habitat?
She mentioned Army Corps.
Yeah, for the record, Dave Carr from the LA Group. So, the applicant's attorney asked us, I was here that night for another project, so they asked us to put together the plan, which we did, and the conceptual plan, the secret form. We did contact Chabot. They signed off on the project. We did contact New York State DEC. They signed off on significant habitat. We met Jed Hayden on site, and we have a letter that there are no state wetlands on the site. The map that you have in front of you shows The map is a little confusing because there's a lot there. However, there's a light blue area that conceivably could be in wetland and it comes up on GIS information as much smaller than that. It's very small. It's close to the North Bay as an Army Corps wetland. We made it larger just because we followed the topography that it could be. But our wetland biologist, when he went out with Jed Hayden, was very confident that there are no wetlands on that site. There is one small pond that shows up. It would be within the 200-foot buffer. That does show up in the seeker information. It does not show up as a wetland. It's a pond. And our biologist said it was probably a dug pond. That's why it doesn't show up. It's very small. So we checked with SHPO, we checked with New York State DEC. It's our opinion that we would not need to check with the Corps. If for some reason a site plan application came up and they got in that area, which makes little sense to me, they would have to contact the Corps if they would see any impacts, but there would be no reason for us to contact the Corps at this point. So we believe we've done our due diligence. We didn't contact DOT because it's very difficult without an actual project for DOT to ring in on that. So yes, you could say you should contact DOT, but we did not because, again, as Ryan said, with a real project, they're going to look at, site distance and, movements and things like that, which we just can't do at this stage. So we looked at the zoning, we looked at the green space requirement, we looked at the land, and that's pretty much the plan we came up with. So we believe we did our due diligence. I think it's up to the lead agent to decide if they want something more than what we've done. And I can answer any questions on any assumptions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Answer your questions, right?
I think so.
Make a motion to move forward with this, with the town as the lead agency.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
This part. Mark Seeker does that part.
Translation, you want to actually go through the part 2 evaluation at this point?
Yeah.
Right, so remember, it's a little bit different because we're doing a hypothetical exercise, but to pretend that what's in the plan is actually proposed. Also remember that there are 18 questions to look at or answer. Any that are answered affirmatively, yes, there are sub-questions to look at to evaluate the magnitude of the potential impact. The magnitude of the potential impact can be either of two choices, and this is, in my opinion, somewhat confusing and somewhat poorly designed, but DEC designed it and they're not exactly perfect. The two choices are no or small impact. So if it's a very small impact, it's still an impact, but it goes in the column, in the first column, no or small impact. If it's a larger potential impact, then it's a moderate to large impact, and it goes in the second column. If you identify any moderate to large impacts, potential impacts, everything's potential. Those will require further discussion and analysis either tonight or at some subsequent meeting. If you identify anything that's identified as no impact doesn't require any further analysis, as seems logical. Any impact that's identified as small also does not require further analysis. So if things in column 1, no or small impact, get lumped together and don't require further analysis or discussion, things that are moderate to large impact are in column 2 and get lumped together, needing further analysis or discussion. Okay? All right. And if in answer to one of the big questions on the topic is no, we don't have to look at the sub-questions. If the answer on the big question on the topic is yes, we have to look at the sub-questions. Okay? All right, so the first question is entitled Impact on Land, and the question is proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site.
Yes.
Clearly an affirmative. Now we look at the sub-questions, and for each sub-question we identify whether it's no or small impact or moderate to large impact. Sub-question, proposed action may involve construction on land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet.
Has anyone done any test borings to know how deep the water is?
Don't look at me.
Oh, no, I'm not asking you. I know you didn't dig it. You were at Stewart's.
Proposed action on construction of land where depth to water table is less than 3 feet.
You know what page it's on?
It's supposed to be E2D. So that's going to be... page 11.
We had greater than 5 feet. Our information is taken from county soil maps. We didn't actually do test pits, but the soil types and the depths were taken from the county soil.
So that's a no or small impact.
So here, no or small impact. Agreed?
Yeah.
Proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater.
It's pretty flat there. I wouldn't think so. No.
No or small.
I would say no.
Proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface.
Within 5 feet. Now we hit that mark, didn't we?
Hearing no? Am I hearing no?
Sorry, I missed that one.
No.
I was looking at the other one.
It's sub C. The proposed action may involve construction on land where bedrock is exposed or generally within 5 feet of existing ground surface.
Okay.
I agree.
Greater than 6 feet.
I agree, no.
No.
So I'm hearing no.
Mark, my question real quick, sorry.
That's all right.
That 1B, proposed action may involve construction on slopes of 15% or greater. In the large form, it says 7% of the site. But is that necessary? That would still make it a small
That doesn't
impact.
necessarily mean the construction.
And not on that site,
That's
yeah.
the entire site.
Okay. All right, that's, I just wanted to clarification on
Our assumption
that.
is that berm, if you look at the berm along Edie, and we stayed out of that area, we believe that's where it is, and we thought that should be protected for screening. But if you look along Edie, really the closest point to the northway, there's a large berm in there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to just clarify that. Thank you.
All right, so we keep you on answer?
Yep.
D, the proposed action may involve the excavation and removal of more than 1,000 tons of natural material.
If you clear all those woods.
It's probably a balanced site. They would usually, you know, cut.
Ryan, what's your opinion?
No small.
Thank you.
Board opinion?
No and small.
E, the proposed action may involve construction that continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases.
That's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the application would say 12 months, so.
I haven't seen a construction project go on time yet anywhere around here.
Yeah.
I'm over a year and a half on mine on the corner, so.
So I'd say moderate to large.
I heard a moderate to large there?
Yes.
Yes,
Well, but
maybe not.
this is one building. We're looking at one building of construction, not the possibility of there being multiple buildings on the site that could
It
be
said
phased or
or,
take more.
but it said or, longer than 1 year or in multiple phases. So you think it would take less than a year
But if
to
it's
build?
one building, I think it would be
Less than a year?
built out.
In a year?
Whether it's applicable, because there's no building going up.
Yeah, but we don't know what's going to be, if anything.
That's what I'm saying.
So building that size, you think could take longer than a year to
I've
build?
been a year on my
Well, I'll
little
tell you what,
building.
you take a company like Amazon, which we talked about for that site, they pulled the plug on 40 projects.
They have pulled the plug on a lot.
So,
It may not even happen through Amazon.
yeah.
How long, because how long it take?
Yeah, but right now, we don't really have anything to...
So moderate?
Yeah, I'd say moderate to large impact may occur. It's a
May.
possibility. Could be multiple buildings. We have no idea what's going there, so it could be a multi-year build-out by whoever the prospective
A
buyer
million
is.
square feet? Yeah.
So board consensus is that that's a potential moderate to large impact?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
9 square feet.
F, the proposed action may result in increased erosion, whether from physical disturbance or vegetation removal, including from treatment by herbicides.
No or small.
Yeah, it's flat.
No or small. G, the proposed action is or may be located within a coastal erosion hazard area.
We don't have to.
Definitely.
All right, so in Roman 1, you identified one potential moderate to large impact, which we'll have to further analyze either tonight or sometime. Roman 2 is impact on geological features.
Yeah, we're doing a site plan.
The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, such as cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, and caves.
Nothing fun.
Hearing no.
No.
Question 3, impacts on surface water. Proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies such as streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes.
I almost think with that pond there, it would have to, if that's considered water.
But there's no impact on it.
No impact on it, okay. Then no.
Okay, on to 4, impact on groundwater. Proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer.
No, better not be. The proposed action may result in
Yes or no?
additional use of groundwater.
That was a concern by the one lady.
Additional use of groundwater.
Contaminants.
The one lady brought up a concern about the
Unless they're talking about rain.
Because the neighborhood
Does acid
across
rain
the
count?
street.
Well, I mean, you potentially have hundreds and hundreds of trucks, cars.
Let's say yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Let's
say
detail
yes,
it.
only because the lady had spoke that there was some impact already on groundwater in the
So
neighborhood.
we're hearing a yes for the big question on number 4?
Yep.
Yes.
I'm looking at the, excuse me, sub-questions. The proposed action may require new water supply wells or create additional demand on supplies from existing water supply wells.
I would say yes. right?
No or small.
Are they bringing water across?
Yes, they're bringing water.
No or small.
No or small.
Sewer authority going underneath the Northway.
So I heard no or small mostly?
Yes.
Water supply demand from the proposed action may exceed safe and sustainable withdrawal capacity rate of the local supply or aquifer.
No or small.
No or small.
Proposed action may allow or result in residential uses in areas without water and sewer services.
No or small.
Proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater.
Wait, I have a quick question on 4C. If this site brings sewer and water, does that open it up to other people on Edie Road to connect?
They could, potentially, yes.
So that potential development could connect to sewer and water
Oh,
instead of having to do
that would be an absolute.
wells,
It's
so
sort
that
of
would
coming up
be
Edie Road
an
from the
impact.
south end.
Right.
Positive impact, yeah. Okay, there's a thought popped in my head. Thank you, sorry, Mark.
Okay. So D, the proposed action may include or require wastewater discharge to groundwater.
Yeah, so they're running the sewer there.
And therefore, the answer-
No.
No or
No.
small.
No or small, sorry.
Proposed action may result in the construction of water supply wells in locations where groundwater is or is suspected to be contaminated.
No or small.
Small.
Proposed action may require the bulk storage of petroleum or chemical products over groundwater or an aquifer.
No.
No.
Proposed action may involve the commercial application of pesticides within 100 feet of potable drinking water or irrigation sources.
No.
All right, so you did, somewhere there was a small, right, in that, one of them? I'm pretty sure.
Was it C?
See,
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Only because if there wasn't even a small, then you'd have to revisit the original affirmative answers. All right, great. Impacts on flooding. Proposed action may result in development on land subject to flooding.
There's no.
No.
Hearing no?
Nope.
Impacts on air. Proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source.
Air emission source. I don't know.
Not with a warehouse type of use.
No, not,
No.
right.
I
It's
didn't
not
know
like a
if
plant.
collective truck emissions, were significant enough. No?
That would
You can
not-
say
But it would be
that would
revisited
not be
anyway.
state-regulated air emission source.
Yeah, we're talking about something like a paper mill.
Right.
Yeah.
So no for the whole.
No, that section.
Okay.
Impacts on plants and animals. Proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna.
No.
Yes?
Yes, the site's getting cleared.
Yeah.
Hearing yes?
Yes.
It's an in.
Hearing yes. Proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any threatened or endangered species as listed by New York State or the federal government that use the site or are found on, over, or near the site.
No or small.
I think you addressed that in the
No,
in your
small,
review.
because DEC
There's a no.
sent the letter, right, Con sent the letter.
So we're getting no or small?
Correct.
Proposed action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any rare, threatened, or endangered species as listed by the New York State or the federal government. The difference in that one is the habitat.
No.
Proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals of any species of special concern or conservation need as listed by New York State or the federal government that use the site or are found on, over, or near the site.
No or small.
No or
Proposed
small.
action may result in a reduction or degradation of any habitat used by any species of special concern and conservation needs as listed by New York State or the federal government.
No or
No or
small.
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 Proposed action may diminish the capacity of a registered national natural landmark to support the biological community it was established to protect.
No.
Proposed action may result in the removal of or ground disturbance in any portion of a designated significant natural community.
No or small?
Proposed action may substantially interfere with nesting, breeding, foraging, or overwintering habitat for the predominant species that occupy or use the project site.
No or small?
Proposed action requires the conversion of more than 10 acres of forest, grassland, or any other regionally or locally important habitat.
No.
Proposed action involves use of herbicides or pesticides.
No.
Okay. Impact on agricultural resources. Proposed action may impact agricultural resources.
No.
Is it no? Impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource.
We don't really know, man.
Land use?
I'll read it again. The land use of the proposed action is obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource.
No.
Second reading did. Impact on historic and archaeological resource. Proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource.
No.
Impact on open space and recreation. Proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan.
No.
We can skip 12 because we don't have enrolled in a legally designated critical environmental area. Question 13, transportation. Proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems.
By systems, we mean
Traffic
network.
Right. Yes.
We're going to be putting trucks onto Ballard Road, I would say,
Yes.
I'm hearing yes.
vehicles.
Okay, the sub-questions. Proposed traffic increase, projected traffic increase may exceed capacity of existing road network.
That's it.
I would say it could be.
No. So moderate
These
to
are not
large.
yes or no.
Yeah,
These are
I'd
no
say-
or small or moderate to large.
Moderate to large.
What
I
was
would
the,
Because they were already at capacity, so I'd say, yeah.
what was the answer in the long form? D2J.
That's a D, right, it's a D2J.
Proposed action result. They
It's
wrote yes.
550.
Budget trips are
500 to
known.
600.
Shift change will be adjusted to alleviate impacts. Proposed parking, 550 to 600 cars.
Right.
Possible.
I still think that should be moderate.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I agree.
All right, so I'm hearing moderate to large for 13A, right? Projected traffic increase may
Yes.
exceed capacity of existing road network, moderate to large.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Yep.
Proposed action may result in the construction of paved park area for 500 or more vehicles.
Yes.
Yes.
Moderate.
Moderate to large.
To large.
Am I right?
C, the proposed action will degrade existing transit access.
No.
We're talking about 16. It will
Well, highway or transit as in
Deteriorate.
train and
Transit.
bus?
It usually means non-automotive transit.
Yeah, I would put
Oh,
no
okay.
to small.
Yeah. We'd already mass transit going through there. Yeah.
Proposed action will degrade existing pedestrian or bicycle accommodations.
No to small.
No or small?
Proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods.
No or small.
Okay, so there we identified two moderate to larges, A and B.
Wait a second.
Correct.
In E, the proposed action may alter the present pattern of movement of people or goods. You got a 1 million square foot warehouse there, you're moving a lot of goods. So,
But it may alter the present pattern.
Of people or goods. People that are moving.
The
people
Ballard's
already-
not gonna be
people who are-
rebuilt, but-
People or commercial traffic already going through there are going to be
Alter.
But that's A.
Present
heavily,
pattern.
Will that be under A, not E?
well, A is about the increase that comes off the
Yeah.
property, and E is about existing traffic being impacted.
Do we see traffic
And
pattern changing?
Personally, I think it would be a moderate to large impact.
I mean, you had the other two that were moderate to large.
Yeah.
Discuss this with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we'll go with moderate to large on
it's all
sub
going to
E.
be a traffic study.
Yes.
Impact on energy. Proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, sub-questions. Proposed action will require a new or an upgrade to an existing substation.
That's to be determined.
It's above me.
I mean, based on that thing that's in front of us, I would say
D2K.
yes,
They said yes.
moderate.
For a substation?
So proposed action generate new
Or no, I'm
additional
sorry.
demand.
Not a substation.
All right, I'm thinking change of power itself, but
It'll be,
Oh, new or an upgrade, no.
So with the no?
yeah.
Proposed action will require the creation or extension of an energy transmission or supply system to serve more than 50 single or two-family residences or to serve a commercial or industrial use.
Creation, extension, energy transmission supply system. Basically building from scratch, is that what we're talking about here?
Normally it's an upgrade of what's existing.
Creation or extension
So you gotta
of
bring
energy
power into the
transmission to
facility.
serve a commercial or industrial use.
So you gotta bring power in.
Yeah.
I gotta upgrade the area there.
I'm not
It's a
sure
million
what's
square
there.
feet.
They would upgrade the transmission probably from this side to that side, but
Moderate?
I think
I
Moderate?
mean, if you want my experience on other projects, grid upgrades it to sell power. So it's
Right.
not, they want to upgrade it.
right, they don't.
It's usually, that's an issue in areas where they have difficulty getting power. Where there is power, they'd love to upgrade it.
Right.
That's, again, don't take it from me, that's that's been my.
I still think that's like no to
Moderate.
small.
No or small?
I'm hearing no or small.
Yes.
Yeah, small.
Proposed action may utilize more than 2,500 megawatt hours per year of electricity.
This will do
don't know what a
6.1 million
megawatt hour is.
kilowatts annually. I don't know how to
How much megawatt
convert
hours do you
kilowatts
use?
to
Based on my
megawatt.
last national grid bill, I think I'm using at least that much.
We're paying for at least that much. Proposed action may utilize, I don't know.
Dave or Brian, do you have an experience with?
Yeah, I believe it would
Worst
be
case scenario.
I'm trying to think how to compare it to, because we did this the last time at the planning board, remember?
Kilo to mega. How do
For the
we,
houses, so,
Jeff Hurt did the math
yeah.
Where's Jeff? Can we call him?
on the solar farm.
So the increase would be, yeah, significant, but I'm also thinking these warehouses are built very energy efficient with LED bulbs. There's not a lot
Probably
of
some
waste.
solar panels.
Solar panels, they don't, so the energy consumption is not what you would think it would be for a 1 million square foot building.
Okay.
So small.
No or small?
No or small?
right.
I'm hearing.
Hearing no or small?
Yep.
Proposed action may involve heating and/or cooling of more than 100,000 square feet of building area when completed.
I would
Say a
yes.
million's more than 100 grand, right?
Yeah,
Right, so the magnitude is
Moderate.
small or moderate to large?
moderate.
To large.
Okay, impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting.
Yes.
Yes.
Some questions. Proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation.
No.
No or small.
I don't know. Do we even have a local regulation about
We have a
noise
decibel
coming
law.
from a commercial facility?
Yeah, it's decibel range.
No, that would be different than
Yeah, there's
Target or
one.
ACE.
Yeah.
Above my
Okay.
motorcycle.
So no or small?
Yep.
Proposed action may result in blasting within 1,500 feet of any residence, hospital, school, licensed daycare center, or nursing home.
No or small. No.
Proposed action may result in routine odors for more than 1 hour per day.
No or small.
Hopefully not.
Proposed action may result in light shining on adjoining properties.
The planning board does
I
their
saw they
job.
had the downward scape lighting planned, so no
No or small?
or small.
Proposed action may result in lighting creating sky glow brighter than existing area conditions.
No.
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 Small.
Or small.
Yeah.
Impact on human health. Proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants.
No.
No.
The last two questions are extraordinarily poorly worded with double negative. Question 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans.
So it's the opposite of what we want to say.
Well, except that this is a rezoning request.
Right, so it is.
So in that respect, you could responsibly say it's not consistent with the adopted land use plan. That doesn't mean it's a significant impact.
True.
So we say yes and then go through?
Well, yeah, because we're looking at a zoning change.
That's
So
True.
it's not consistent.
Right, okay, so you're answering yes to that. Proposed actions, land use components may be different from or in sharp contrast to current surrounding land use patterns.
No to small.
Actions land use.
Does that mean adjacent property or the area? Like, are we taking Target in the east into consideration?
It does not, it's not, the question is not limited to contiguous.
I'd say moderate to large impact, since we're talking about a residential zone.
Now, well, more importantly, I'm not dissuading you from that answer, but I just want to make sure you understand the distinction between, it's not whether it's different from or sharp contrast to surrounding zoning, it's different from or sharp contrast to the surrounding land use patterns, the actual land use.
Oh,
You may have the same answer, I just want to make sure you're appreciating the distinction.
go to small.
Well, the current land use is woods, so.
But across the street is,
Surrounding.
are the
You have your Commerce Park on the
Park.
other side. You have, Northway.
Auto record.
Nowhere smaller.
I still think it's nowhere small.
Consensus is nowhere small?
Yes.
Proposed action will cause the permanent population of the city, town, or village in which the project is located to grow by more than 5%.
No. Small.
Proposed action is inconsistent with local land use plans or zoning regulations.
Inconsistent with local land use.
Moderate to, it's still residential, so moderate to large impact.
Inconsistent.
action is inconsistent.
Once it's rezoned, it won't be.
Yeah, but what we're talking about,
Plans.
the ultimate goal, your ultimate goal is to try and get the zoning changed. It's rural residential zoning, so the proposed action is inconsistent with local land use plans or zoning regulations.
There's no question that it's
It is
factually
completely inconsistent.
But the question is, do you want to characterize that as a small, potentially small impact or a moderate to large?
But some of that
Personally-
land is commercial.
Right.
They're
Most
just
of the land
blending.
is commercial.
But they don't need any action on this board's part, on
Right.
that parcel.
Well, that, again, just determining whether it's small or moderate to large. What is the percentage of the commercial to the residential that's looking for the zoning
The
change?
piece that we're not, that's already commercial is bigger than the piece that we're asking.
Then I would say
Like
it's
how, like
nowhere.
60/40, 70/30?
Nowhere small.
It's like,
70/30?
I think it's like,
Did I hear 80/20? Come on.
You going over under?
I thought it was an
It's
auction.
82 approximately, residential's 54 approximately.
Just over half.
If you add those two together, it was interesting,
can't
when I
add.
started this process, if you add those two together and you take the
135.
35% green space requirement, it's almost the size of a residential parcel.
The green space is almost the size of the residential? So it's like a third, and a third?
It's still inconsistent. Changing from R1 or R2 to our commercial is the green space acreage. If that makes sense.
So it's
Yeah.
basically
So
their
it's
thirds.
1/3 of the pie.
Right.
Commercial,
So green space requirement
residential
is
green space.
35%.
One third. So that's smaller than 50%. So I would have to say it's definitely an impact, but I don't think it's a large impact.
Let's go in
I
between.
know small.
are,
Small.
am I lost
That's
on the action that's being proposed is to rezone. How many acres was it? 50?
54.
Oh, yeah, I think it's all that.
54.
54, I think I said.
Yeah. So the action that our board is being asked to take is to rezone 54 acres of rural residential property. We're not being asked to do anything on the other parcel. We don't have an actual project. So
And I
in
agree
my
with
mind,
Ray.
the question before us is, if you
is a
change
moderate to
54
large.
acres of rural residential property to commercial property, is that inconsistent with the current zoning regulations? I think it's
I
a,
apologize for interrupting, but I think we've all agreed there's no question that it's inconsistent. That's
Yeah.
factual.
so,
The characterization has to be small, moderate.
exactly, and so I'm saying, based on that scale, that I consider it to be a moderate to large impact.
54 acres is what you're basing it off of.
It's the entirety of the property that we're being asked to rezone.
54 acres is a lot.
It's 100% of what
54
we're
acres is
being
a
asked
lot
to
of land.
rezone.
Wait, but is it inconsistent with the local land use?
It
It would
is.
be consistent with the commercial,
You've got a
adjacent
rural residential
commercial.
subdivision right across the street from it.
Right. I'm just saying, is it inconsistent with the commercial parcel that it would be, that it's next to? It would be consistent with that.
You got a Commerce
But
Park.
it's not consistent with the zoning of that property.
So I think to back up a little bit with the land use of the area, this falls under the
This is to the extent to which we've agreed it's inconsistent. So now we're talking about the extent to which, meaning small or moderate to large, the extent to which it's inconsistent with local land use, not local land uses, but local land use plans, meaning our Town of Wilton comprehensive land use plan and our Town of Wilton zoning regulations. Everyone agrees it's inconsistent. The question is that inconsistency likely to result in a small, we're leaving out no, because no is not on the table anymore. Small potential environmental impact or moderate to large environmental impact, largely how Ray framed it.
Ballard Road is commercial.
We're not talking about Ballard Road, though. We're talking about the rezoning of a rural residential parcel of land. That's all that we're talking about. We're not talking about what happens on Ballard Road, what happens at Target, what happens at Ace. So in my way of thinking, 100% of the property that's being asked to be rezoned under this application is rural residential. There is a proposed rural residential subdivision right across the street from it. I think that is a moderate to large impact.
Board agreed?
I don't know, I get it, it's across the street, but if you look at the Ballard Road side and the commercial parcel that it is going to connect to, then it is consistent. I mean, it's inconsistently consistent with the land use, because you have to look at the area, we drew a circle around it.
But that's not what the question is.
I was just about to say.
The question is not, let's take the whole area and would it fit in?
That was question A, if that helps any.
Exactly. The question is about the specific zoning regulations. And the specific zoning regulations say that that's rural residential property. And that's what that question asks.
Yes, analysis. Anytime you change.
So part A of that is the pursuit action land use components different from or in sharp contrast to the surrounding ones. And that answer, and I agree with my fellow town board members, is no or small. However, for this specific parcel,
based on what I'm reading, I kind of agree with Ray. It is moderate, to say the least.
Yeah.
Consensus? Moderate to large?
I'll go with moderate.
All right, that's a consensus.
difficult
D, the
without knowing
proposed
what's
action
going
is
there.
inconsistent with any county plans or other regional land use plans.
I'd say small to no to small.
Agreed?
Yes.
Yes.
Proposed action may cause a change in the density of development that is not supported by existing infrastructure or is distant from existing infrastructure.
Give us a minute. Density of development. It's not changing the density of it.
So the existing.
So that would be.
I mean, the game plan is to bring the infrastructure across the north.
The infrastructure is here. You know,
it's a stone's throw away.
Correct. I would say that was being no to small.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Small, yeah.
Proposed action is located in an area characterized by low-density development that will require new or expanded public infrastructure.
No, small.
So I'm hearing no to small. Proposed action may induce secondary development impacts such as residential or commercial development not included in the proposed action. Still hearing no to small.
Yeah.
And lastly, the consistency with community character question is worded, the proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. So if you feel it's inconsistent, that's a yes. If you feel it is not inconsistent, that's a no.
I say no, based on all the input we've just heard about the Ballard Road corridor. I know you differ with that.
I think you're right, John.
Think you're right that you're differing, or you think you're right that no?
Oh, no, he's not going to agree with me on this one.
Again, I'm focused on this,
Well, you got to read the question.
Zone. Thanks. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. The project is the rezoning of 54 acres of land. The project is not a warehouse. The project is not whatever else might get built there.
You should be thinking of it as both in this hypothetical exercise.
So the
But again, this
community,
community, like, larger community character is the focus of this.
exit 16, community.
Okay. I'll
If you read- If you read A through F,
Yep.
in my opinion, I said no to all of them, which would then change,
He was just about to say that.
which would then make the big one.
He was just about to be there.
I'm going to go with my colleague,
Thank you.
Deputy Supervisor.
All right,
Let's see.
Mark it down before you change it.
Yeah,
All right, so I'm hearing
you
no.
better make sure you get
Just
this
push
in the
him out of
minutes,
his chair.
Julie.
So big question 18 is a no, is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
All right. All right, so you've identified one,
I think it's on us. For my experience in this stuff. And you can come to the candidate, too.
all right, so by my count, you've identified 6
Simple, stupid
impacts as
questions.
moderate to large. The moderate to large ones require further analysis, and the further analysis would take place, the guidance for that further analysis is an environmental assessment form part 3, which I have on this form, right?
Part 3?
The gist of, the part 3 is not a fill-in-the-blank form, unlike parts 1 and 2. Part 3 gives you guidance of how to analyze the potential impacts identified as moderate to large when we went through the answers to part 2, which I think I just counted there were 6 of them. We generally recommend not trying to do the part 3 analysis on the fly, but have somebody take a homework assignment of trying to prepare a draft of part 3, because you're supposed to look at the duration of the potential impact, the irreversibility of the potential impact, the geographic scope of the potential impact, and 3 or 4 other factors like that. I can provide the board with guidance on that if you like. And the best way, in our opinion, to prepare part 3 is not to try to do it shooting from the hip on the fly, but to do it for next meeting. We can provide guidance as to what has to be analyzed.
Mark, I have 5. Can you?
Oh, you
just tell us which one? Actually, 1.
I have 1, letter E.
Yep.
I have, and then nothing until 13, where I have 3 of them, A, B, and E, so we're up to 4.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Then I have 14D, which would be number 5.
Yep.
And then I have 17C, which would be number 6.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. On the back page.
Is it too late?
Thank you.
So that would be my recommendation, that the board conduct its part 3 analysis at a subsequent meeting with somebody trying to develop a written draft of that part 3 analysis of those 6 impacts that are identified as moderate to large. And again, I can give you guidance as to what things should be considered in reviewing those issues.
But one of my questions, the 3 that we checked off in section 13 all have to do with transportation. How do you answer the impacts of those 3 if you don't have a transportation study, because we don't actually know what's going on the parcel?
That may be, I mean, like the rest of this exercise, that might be very challenging. You'll have to end up making it the best. The secret law is intentionally, not by me, written to be very vague in this regard. You're not charged with being traffic engineers or soil and water engineers or any other kind of engineers or technical expertise. You're supposed to make your best judgment based on what's proposed, in this case what's hypothetically proposed, and make your best, in some cases, guesstimate of the magnitude of the impact.
And discuss the mitigation, potential mitigation.
That's another factor, correct.
So like for traffic, potential mitigation is exit 16 bridge is on, the docket to be replaced. It's a 5-year plan, but, so that's a mitigation method.
Sure.
So it'd actually be better if a plan like this went through before they design it, so it gets taken into consideration instead of done
Right,
incorrectly
these things
or
would be
can't
taken
handle
into
it.
consideration during that process, so that would be just an item you could put in there as a mitigation method.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
We just heard our council speak once volunteer.
You did?
Dave Carr.
What do we need?
You got sucked into one last time you were here.
Yeah, you're right.
I believe by your own admission.
Oh, so Ryan's hand went up too.
You didn't see that?
I saw that.
I threw my hand up when he had.
Thank you.
I thought you were tying your shoe under the table there.
And Mark, you can assist. You will be able to assist? Thank you.
It's not going to be much of a legal exercise, but I can review if anybody else needs.
Of course.
So lay it up, he'll tap it in.
Something like that. That's the gist of it.
I like it. I like it.
Sounds good.
We good, Counselor?
That's fine. That's a perfectly appropriate process for proceeding.
We can move ahead?
There's nothing else you can do tonight.
No, on our next
Yes.
agenda.
Just gonna keep it open until next month.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Frank.
September 10th, we have a bulk waste day. Residents can drop off their items at the back of the highway department or Gavin Park. Everything's on the website. They can look what we will accept and don't. So it's September 10th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Do we have signs for that anywhere? Did we make some? I thought we made some.
Didn't the highway put them up before too?
Yeah.
We can get them
she
out.
has them
because
That'll be all taken care
I
of.
think that'll, when people see the signs, they see them better than the website.
Well, we should do everything we can to get as much out of people's homes as they want to get rid of. Anybody got any committee reports?
It's quiet.
Just very, very briefly, I've had some conversations with the New York State Office of Cannabis Management, and there are 10 different licenses for which people can apply related to the cannabis industry. And when we opted out last year, it only applies to 2 of the 10 licenses. Good. Very interesting reading. If anybody wants to go through this stuff, I'd be
So
more
they
than
can
happy
still
to.
farm that stuff here?
You can do a lot of stuff.
Light one up and read it.
It's very interesting reading. The gentleman I spoke to on the phone was very helpful, explained a lot to me, and in addition, sent me some information, so I'd be happy to share that with anyone who would like to read it.
Our gas pumps have been replaced, but it's going to be probably up to a week before they can get all the computers and fobs and everything for us.
It's all set, though. I've seen them work on it.
My understanding, the pumps are in and they tested them, but they got to be hooked to the computer to be able to do the fobs, to be able to get the fuel. So still currently for a while, we'll have to get fuel over at Scott's. I'd also like to note that one of our business people, an active town member, Peter Gaylor, passed away 2 days ago.
So keep his family in your thoughts and prayers, please. And early voting begins August 13th. That's going to be on the websites. Only we've done at Gavin Park.
Vote early, vote often.
That's right. Anything else? Maria, would you give a committee report, please?
Yes. So category 1 is our budget transfers, and we have several instances where departments that have vehicles are experiencing shortfalls in their budget regarding gasoline, because the gasoline prices were raised unexpectedly when we were crafting the budget for this year, so they need more budget this year.
We're planning on their fund.
Yeah. So the first 2 items are for the buildings department and for the control of dogs, respectively. Item 3 is some planned improvements for the highway garage. There is going to be pumping of oil and water separation and lighting improvements as a $10,000 projected cost. Item 4 and 5 is for the same increased cost of gasoline that we just talked about for the Parks Department and for code enforcement, respectively. Item 6 is for code enforcement bringing one of their vehicles in for repair to meet inspection. It won't pass inspection at this point. So the estimated cost of repair is $4,000 for that.
What's the value
Which
of the
truck is that?
What's the value of
That
the truck?
is, I believe that's Marcus's truck.
Well, yeah, his truck is really bad shape.
I thought we ordered a new one.
We did, and it's not going to be in until the beginning of the year, next year.
When's it due for inspection?
I think it failed, sounds like.
Crack frame.
Well, then we're not gonna put
We shouldn't even put-
$4,000 in a cracked frame.
We shouldn't even put that truck on the road then.
Mark's truck's got a crack.
Marcus.
Well, if
Yeah,
it's
I
got a
wouldn't-
cracked frame, shouldn't be driving it.
And it shouldn't be repaired at $4,000.
I would just take it off and roll. I wouldn't spend the
Crack
money on it.
frame and
That truck's had some issues since
things.
last year.
No, we gotta do something. 'cause
He came over to Jones Road that day we called him, and oh my,
Mike, you know anything about this?
Driving down.
yeah, I don't know the details, but that's, there's a bunch of issues.
They ride together anyways.
Yeah, I wouldn't be spending no $4,000 on it. I'm gonna get rid of it.
So I strike that one from the,
Yeah.
Which one is that?
Number
That's item
6.
And item 7 is, we're just moving money from recycling to refuse and garbage for the bulk waste day that were planned in September.
make a motion
Somebody
to
wanna make-
approve budget transfers 1 through 7 minus 6.
Minus number 6, yep.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you. Category 2 is our budget amendments, and the first 2 items are for the electronic vehicle charging stations that are proposed to be installed at the Gavin Park. So that would be 2 dual station pumps, and then also 2 dual port pumps at Town Hall. So what happens is we pay for the entirety of the project.
I was
in the
gonna
first
ask if we had
instance,
grants.
and then the grants are
Yeah, that
reimbursed to
money's
the town after the fact.
Right, you
So
said
we're
we
just
got the
done.
grants in your email, correct?
Perfect.
We didn't get the grants,
Oh,
but,
you're going to apply for it.
They were-
right, correct,
I
yeah.
know there was something.
In its
Yeah,
entirety.
yeah. Items 3 through 6 relate to our ARPA funding for not-for-profits. Item 3 is for the YMCA Saratoga Wilton branch. Item 4 is for the Snack Pack Organization and for the Perry Road Food Pantry of $5,000 each. That's why you see 10,000 there. Item 5 is for the Wilton Wildlife Preserve and Park. And item 6 is for Rebuilding Together Saratoga and for St. Joseph's Parish and Greenfield Center, which services citizens of Wilton, and also AIM Services rents the parish hall, so it has a wide usage. And then item 7, I am increasing sales tax revenue on the highway department to accommodate, again, that increase in fuel, $40,000, and that should carry us through the rest of the year. Yes.
Somebody want to make a budget, a motion on those budget amendments?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, carried.
Thank you. Item 3 is Saratoga County has approved the title classification for building maintenance helper for the town. So that would be for Scott's, area here. But of course, as we always say, maintenance, it could be used in either the park, it's a town-wide position, but this is a new title. So the board is requested to approve the use of this title.
Make a motion to approve that title.
Did they set a salary scale and everything?
That would be on the
Yeah.
same salary scale that we use for maintenance, yes.
So it'd be the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you. And the last item is I've completed all the internal reviews for the departments in the town, and I am requesting that the board approve the reviews and that I receive a copy of the resolution for that, Julie. Thank you.
Second.
Motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria, great job. Somebody want to make a motion to go in executive session for legal land? Motion? Second?
That over there? It looks like me getting out of my car on a hot day.
Yeah, I knew that was a fuel pump, but what the hell's the thing? So I ended up having to Google 73 Roadrunner fuel systems. And
What did you need? Did you need the
I needed, because I put a whole new tank in, instead of wrestling the other one out, I figured.
I probably had one of them sent off of that Coronet Tyler.
Yeah, so I got a brand new, where'd he leave?
I was just like, what?
Ray just left? He did?
Ray,
No. He packed his stuff up, went out that way.
Oh, is it back on? Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Make a motion to come back into session.
second.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
No action taken in executive session. Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn? Second? Second. Thank you all for
Third,
coming.
fourth, fifth.
Wasted in the parking lot.